Good morning, class. We continue with elements of literature. Just to remind one another, so far we've looked at the setting, the plot, character, and theme. So today we'll look at another element of literature, which is very important. As a writer, you have to know the point of view in which you are going to write your story. Point of view, this is not a new word. If you can remember, I've taught you about first person point of view, second person point of view, third person point of view, or in other words, first person point of view narrative, second person point of view narrative, third person point of view narrative. These are not new things. We have discussed them before, and I remember in class I taught you on these things. So today we want to employ them in literature or in our stories. Looking at what's a point of view. This is how a writer chooses to write a story or a fable or a poem. Remember, someone is always between the reader and the action of the story. That's the writer. Someone is always between the reader and the action of the story. That someone is telling the story from his or her own point of view. This angle of vision, the point of view from which the people, events, and details of the story are viewed, is important to consider when reading a story. So, whenever you're reading a story, or a short story, or you want to write a story, don't just read and write. Look at what point of view is the person writing from. Is it the first person point of view, narrative? You can read on these notes, you have them. Is it the second point of view, narrative? Is it the third person point of view, narrative? So you have to consider these things. Let's look at types of point of view. The objective point of view in writing. With the objective point of view, the writer tells what happens without stating more than what can be inferred from the story's action and dialogue. The narrator or the writer never discloses anything about what the characters think or feel, or remaining a detached observer. So this is like a second point of narrative. You're just observing, you're just reporting, some sort of reporting, writing on something. You're not directly involved in the story. And then we have what we call the third person point of view, narrative. Here, the narrator does not participate in the action of the story. So the writer is not directly involved in the story. The writer chooses to write a story based on other people in the action of the story of the character, but let us know exactly how the characters feel. We learn about the characters through its outside voice. So third person point of view, refer back to your notes, you have them. You're writing, reporting on other issues, people. You are not involved in the story. The story is not about you, but it's about your friend, your society. You're writing it, reporting basis. You're writing on something that others are doing. So you're writing it in place of them. And then we have what we call the first point of view. In the first point of view, the narrator does participate in the action of the story. When reading stories in the first person, we need to realize that the narrator is recounting the objective or the main idea of the story. So the first person point of view writing, the story is about the writer himself. So the writer is either, for instance, I would choose to write something about what happened in the past or that involved me, that happened to me. So I'm writing about it. The story is about me. So that's first person point of view writing. And then we have what we call the omniscient and limited omniscient point of view. A narrator who knows everything about the characters is all-knowing and omniscient. So omniscient is all-knowing. So you have to know the characters of a person. If you're writing a true story about a person, you have to observe the characteristics of a person so that you write something that is true. And A narrator whose knowledge is limited to one character, either major or minor, has a limited omniscient point of view. So this is how much omniscient, and I don't get confused with these words. This is just how much you know a character. Do you know that character, or do you know the person very well, or you're just writing something based on how you want that person to develop? So it all depends on what angle you're writing, a fiction or non-fiction story. So for now, we've looked at the point of view, how a writer decides to write the story. Is it in the first person, whereby it concerns the writer himself, the story is about the writer himself, or is it about the third person, where the character is writing about other people, or is it about the second point of view narrative, that whereby the character is just playing an observer role? I mean, the writer is just playing an observer role. For today, I think we stop here. In the next lesson, we shall look at the tone as one of the elements of literature. And very soon we'll be winding up on these elements of literature. Remember, we're coming towards the end of the term. As your class teacher, I always encourage you to study hard, work hard. Don't relax too much at home. Exams are just around the corner. Stay safe. Thank you very much.